California's Great America is an amusement park located in Santa Clara, California, United States. The park opened to the public in 1976 and it was known as Marriott's Great America, after the hotel chain of the same name. Later in 1992, the park was taken over by Paramount Parks and was renamed Paramount's Great America, where Paramount Parks decided to theme some of Great America's rides to their movies like Top Gun, Drop Zone Stunt Tower, etc. Until 2006 when Cedar Fair bought the park and it was known as California's Great America. The movie themes were removed and unfortunately we all know what happened in 2022. Prologis bought the land for $310 million. The lease was ending in June 30th, 2028, and until then, Six Flags / Cedar Fair has just a few more years to take things down and cease operations. However, if we're lucky and the city buys the park back or something, the park will be saved. Or the lease could be extended 5 years and operations could continue as late as 2033. However, only time will tell what happens to this beloved amusement park. Now people are going to have to drive either far down south to Gilroy Gardens or Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, or way up north to Six Flags Discovery Kingdom in Vallejo, California. However, today in this video we'll be counting down the top 10 rides at California's Great America. This park is home to 9 roller coasters, 2 water rides, 6 total thrill rides including the upcharge attractions, etc. A few notes before I begin. Firstly, I will not be including any ride footage because, let's just say this is way too complicated. And I did not get any really good ride footage. However, all the rides here are absolutely magnificent. The top 10 is the generic list. However, we're really talking top 5 plus 5 honorable mentions. So here are the 5 honorable mentions. Number 10, Tiki Twirl. This is as an Perla Disco, which opened in 2006, which was formerly known as Survivor the Ride. This ride is basically, you sit on a disc, and it rides along a W-shaped track with some sort of camelback hump or something in the middle. The seats are like motorbike seats, so you don't have any seat back until this padded bar comes down on your back, and it kind of slams, but not gonna lie, it keeps you safe. And you might enjoy a little bit of airtime on this ride. If you've ever been on a disco like Harley Quinn's Spinsanity at Six Flags St. Louis, you'll know how this one goes. I think one of the Legoland parks also has one of these. That would be really thrilling to ride. Number 9, Psycho Mouse. Ms. Anonymous could tell you this is her favorite. This is a very rare Aero Wild Mouse coaster. This opened in 2001 and is still in operation. Rumors had previously spread that Psycho Mouse would be moving to Cedar Point. However, nope, Cedar Point got themselves a new Wild Mouse. Number 8, Delirium. This is a Chance Ride Revolution 32. It's pretty fun and it swings to a height of 65 feet and an arc of 120 degrees while spinning at 9 revolutions per minute. However, oftentimes lines are too long and sometimes I just can't ride it because of time. Number 7, The Demon. Originally, this and Patriot swapped spots and this would have been at a higher place. However, because of a recent accident where, let's just say, this was my first time riding Demon and actually liking it. Before, when I was a kid, I did it and I wasn't a fan because it was way too fast and I was way too young to enjoy fast thrills. However, now doing it as a much older person, I actually like it for the speed. However, one thing I really don't like about it, and that is super risky on this ride, is that it literally made my lower set of teeth bite my tongue. On the second loop, the right side of the shoulder harness absolutely jabbed itself into my chest. And unfortunately, that resulted in my chin forcibly moving up, my lower teeth hitting my tongue, and my tongue having a little bit of a spot for a day or two. Thankfully, I think it's gone now. So, Demon, you really did your job. But, great ride. Number 6, Drop Tower. Originally, this was at number 2 spot. However, after trying a few new roller coasters, it kind of pushed it a little bit. However, this is a really fun intimate drop tower, and it still remains one of my favorite rides of all time. Now we're getting into the real top 5. Number 5, the Grizzly. Now please don't hate me on this, coaster enthusiasts. I love the Grizzly. It's a very fun classic wooden roller coaster, and it's actually my very first wooden coaster that I actually liked. I remember riding this back in 2019, and I absolutely loved it. It's got a classic feel, and that's the big gist of the ride. You start by climbing up the 91-foot lift and dropping down an 88-foot drop. Then you go up another hill where the train roars like a grizzly. No, seriously, it actually makes a loud roar, and it kind of does sound like a grizzly bear. This ride contains bus bar restraints. However, there is not a lot of airtime on this ride. Okay, you may feel like you're just about a centimeter off your seat, or maybe even less, but that's like the max of it. But personally, I don't care. I love this ride very much. When going up the hills, sometimes you get some good positive G's, and sometimes on one turn, there's a good amount of lateral that comes right on you. Specifically, there's a right turn followed by an immediate left turn, which is actually really fun because it gives quite a lateral force. People say this ride's rough and janky. However, I disagree. I think the rough and janky is actually kind of the fun of the ride, and it's not incredibly rough. In fact, some people even say Gold Striker is rougher than that. And would I agree? Sure. Grizzly is awesome, and I give it a 5 out of 5. Number 4, Patriot. You might be thinking, oh, this is probably something like the one you did at Worlds of Fun. No. The Patriot ride is a B&M floorless roller coaster. I forgot to mention a couple of manufacturers, by the way. By accident, sorry. Demon is aerodynamics, and it's a looper. Drop Tower is Intamin, and it's a giant drop. Grizzly is designed by Courtesy Summers and manufactured by Kings Island Construction. And this Patriot, manufactured by Bolliger & Mabillard. It was originally Vortex, however in 2017 it was renamed to Patriot and got new floorless trains instead of the old stand-up trains. Personally, I would have really disliked it if it was a stand-up, because let's be honest, who wants to stand up on a roller coaster when you've already stood in line for 2 hours, right? Lol. The ride is not too interesting, but also interesting at the same time. It stands at a height of 91 feet, reaches a top speed of 45 miles per hour, has 2 inversions, which are a loop and a corkscrew, and is nestled adjacent to the All-American Corner section of the park, which contains some classic flats like my number 1 favorite. You'll see what that is in a moment. As I previously mentioned, this ride and Demon previously swapped places. However, after the Demon absolutely tortured my tongue, this one takes the cake. I rate both Grizzly and Patriot a 5 out of 5. Certainly a thrill. Would I pick this or the Worlds of Fun Patriot? Well, we'll discuss that in another video. Number 3, Flight Deck. Flight Deck is a classic inverted roller coaster manufactured by Bolliger & Mabillard, B&M, the same roller coaster manufacturer of the Patriot. They are probably my second favorite roller coaster manufacturer after Great Coasters International. I'll tell you why later. The over-the-shoulder restraints on both Patriot and Flight Deck are actually not bad, and I don't get any headbanging on any of those, especially sitting towards the front. Flight Deck is very whippy and twisty, and definitely almost got my glasses right off my face, which would not have been good. We're not getting another whole loose article sort of jam in the park. That would not be good. I don't want riders to skim it by near feet, and I had no idea where we were and how high off we were on the ground. Anyway, this ride stands at a height of 100 feet and a maximum speed of 50 miles per hour. It has a total of 3 inversions, 1 loop, 1 zero gravity roll, and 1 corkscrew. It also has a few extra cool elements like a 270-degree afterburn turn, or 2, and it's got a full circle wing over, which is pretty cool, and something I don't think I've seen on a lot of rides. Not sure if Patriot at Worlds of Fun had this, but it probably did, let's be real. I love both rides, and they're both really fun, and both of them get a 5 out of 5. This one was previously known as Top Gun when it opened to the park in 1993. This is many people's favorite roller coasters, like a few YouTubers I've seen, and multiple friends from the Bay Area. However, there are 2 better rides than this, in my opinion. Number 2, Gold Striker. Gold Striker is a wooden roller coaster manufactured by Great Coasters International (GCI) and opened to the park in 2013. It has the world's longest drop tunnel and is certainly a thrill and a grand entrance to the park. I was so happy about this ride to ride this ride twice on my last visit to Great America. It was my first and last ride. Firstly, GCI is actually my favorite roller coaster manufacturer. However, it isn't my favorite ride manufacturer in general because Huss Park Attractions, who made the Zulu at Worlds of Fun, which happens to be my favorite ride of all time, which is an Enterprise, was manufactured by Huss. And Huss makes Enterprises still, but no parks are buying it. Seriously, it's called the Enterprise 2G/2GH and was introduced in 2015. Anyway, back to Gold Striker. Firstly, you strap into a seatbelt similar to that of an airplane, so like a Boeing 747 seatbelt, or like a Dreamliner. Maybe a little bit smaller, but same idea. Anyway. Then, as soon as you fasten your seatbelt, and the operator gives a countdown, 3, 2, 1, the classic Millennium Flyer restraints lower. They come down rocket speed. However, they won't staple you. They'll leave room for airtime, not like Zambezi Zinger, and they'll leave room for you to enjoy the ride. They're ratchet, and they're very cool shaped. They have two horizontally cylindrical bars. These two bars are connected on the sides by grab handles, and in the middle of the top bar, there's a square column that connects to the ride. That's unlike most roller coaster lap bars, which have circular columns or circular bars on the side, or I should say cylindrical bars on the side, that connect to the train. Hope my descriptions are actually not too bad. So, brief summary. Two horizontally cylindrical bars, grab handles on the side, square column connecting the top bar to the train. Very, very cool restraint. Love it. Comes down, doesn't staple you or anything. That's why coaster enthusiasts love Millennium Flyers. GCI, please get those Infinity Flyers, good restraints. Anyway, this ride stands at a height of 108.2 feet and reaches a top speed of 53.7 miles per hour. Its first drop is into a nice noise tunnel. This tunnel is actually used to block away noise from the nearby office buildings and whatnot. Apparently, in 2013, shortly after its opening, they got some noise complaints, and unfortunately, it was closed until 4th of July. 4th of July seems to be the perfect time to reopen a closed coaster, right? I give this ride a 5 out of 5. It's full of airtime, full of forces, full of laterals, full of positive and negative G's, and it's just absolutely berserk. Number 1, Orbit. Orbit is one of the most random rides to be in a number 1 spot. Okay, leave your hate in the comments below, but not gonna lie, this is my favorite. Orbit is one of the last Schwarzkopf Enterprise rides. The others being at Parque de la Ciudad in Argentina, I think that still exists. Attractie Park Slagharen in the Netherlands, I'm sorry, I butchered that. And I think that's it. I think those are the only 2 Schwarzkopf Enterprise rides left in the world. Okay, maybe there's one other one, but I think those are the only 2 I know. All the other ones are Huss. Like the one at Luna Park, Melbourne, that's Huss. The one at Thorpe Park called Zodiac, that's Huss. The 2 in Canada, one at Playland and one at Callaway Park, those 2 are also Huss. Zulu at Worlds of Fun is Huss. Enterprise at Dorney Park is Huss. The only ride that's not Huss is Six Flags Darien Lake Silver Bullet. Also, the Enterprise called Kera at Linnanmäki in Finland. Some other parks used to have Huss Enterprises, but they've been completely demolished, or they've been replaced with Zamperla Endeavors, like Tekmäki in Finland. I have no idea how to pronounce that, sorry. They used to have an Enterprise, but thankfully they replaced it with a Zamperla Endeavor, which is a very smart move because it still keeps the classic thrill going. There were some similar flat rides in other parks called Skylab, where you sit in a giant Enterprise gondola, or the UFO, which is a standing Enterprise, or the Flyaway, which is a prone position flying Enterprise, etc., etc. Anyway, Orbit. Orbit opened at the park in 1976 along with the park, and was not actually called the Orbit. In fact, it was called Orland's Orbit. as a nod to its location in the former Orleans Place. However, that Orleans Place was eventually shortened, and this part became All-American Corners, which shortened the name of this ride to simply the Orbit. It reaches a peak height of 80 feet as riders spin around at insane speeds. The ride starts by spinning you with no restraints, of course, because yeah, this is a zero gravity ride. This is not a science experiment, it's a scientific demonstration. Come on, guys. At least you paid attention in physics class. Or did you? Anyway, it spins at a height of 80 feet when the hydraulic arm under the ride completely tilts the wheel so that it is 87 degrees and it's almost vertical and it looks like a Ferris wheel. However, if you are lucky enough to ride this ride at night before the park closes, you might be able to see the beautiful lighting package that this ride has. 5 out of 5 stars for me on this ride. This ride receives too much downtime, which is why I often feel like this ride is going to be removed. If this ride does get removed, however, Great America, I will be very sad. I give this ride a 5 out of 5 stars. This is a wonderful ride and is certainly a thrill. Before I end this video, I'm going to mention a couple of rides that I certainly wish I did on my last visit, but never got to do. The Extreme Sky Flyer, I would have loved to do that, and if I did that, it would have probably peaked in at number 6, bringing Drop Tower, Demon, Delirium, and Psycho Mouse down a spot. I also really would have loved to do the Grizzly, however, I did not end up doing the Grizzly because, yeah, time did not allow. However, the Grizzly is a very fun wooden roller coaster, and I love it very, very much. Otherwise, I did all the major thrill rides I wanted to do last visit, and I'm grateful that I went to Great America for the last time before they closed. Be sure to subscribe to the Anonymous channel. See ya. Also, be on the lookout for Ms. Anonymous' version of this video, where she displays her top rides at California's Great America. Anyway, we'll see ya. Peace.